everyone, and welcome to IDP Summer Camp, presented by Raider Digest Network YouTube, powered by IDPguys.org. I'm your host, Oklahomie Doug. This is episode 4, the Chicago Bears, and I got another doozy lined up. I told you I was going to bring them guests. I was going to bring it hard. This episode is no different. None other than my homie, my good friend. He's been in the game a while, Mr. Big Board IDP. He's been doing this a minute. Everybody, my guest for episode 4, senior writer, IDP chief for DLF, contributor Saturday to Sunday. Let me just take 1 second to rewind just 1 second. If everybody, that Saturday to Sunday podcast, whoa, man, Paul Partakese, them guys over there, man, that's fire. That's one of my favorites there. Okay, but he's a contributor at Saturday to Sunday. One of the best guys, one of the godfathers of IDP, Mr. Doug G at Big Board IDP himself. What's up, homie? Welcome to summer camp.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I think this is going to be a fun night.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's always a fun night, man, whenever you get on with one of the IDP guys. It's always a fun night, brother. But tonight, what I wanted to do with this summer camp series, I've got 3 out of the way. We've got the Steelers done, we've got the Niners done, and the Browns done. So tonight we're going to jump on to the Bears. We're just going to hit a little recap of what's happening in the offseason, kind of your expectations, and we'll just go from there, okay? How about it, Mr. Doug?
I love it.
All right, brother. All right, man, so we'll get right into it, dude. What defense does the Bears run? Let's start off with that. So maybe some of the newcomers, IDP, we get them integrated. Let's tell them a little bit about that Bears defense and some of that linebacker trouble. Tell them a little bit about it.
Sure. So they play a 3-4. That's what they played for the last couple of years under Vic Fangio. We've got he's moved on now. He's the head coach out in Denver. So we now have Chuck Pagano making the calls for the Chicago defense. So if you're going to lose a guy, getting up Pagano, who's a very good defensive coordinator. I don't know how great he is as a head coach, but as a defensive coordinator, he's really great. So happy to have him on board with that star-studded defense that the Bears run.
Right.
Yeah,
star-studded, like you said. Heck, Big Board, I feel like me and you could jump in and run that Bears D. You know, they've got some names on there, you know, with Roquan and Khalil Mack, you know, and even Danny Trevathan, you know. But we'll get into him later because that's one of my guys that we'll touch on here a little bit. But all right, so they run that kind of defense. Got new D coordinator. Right after a week after the draft, Doug, what was your draft grade on them a week after the draft?
Well, I was pretty optimistic about them. Now, obviously, you have to take into account, too, that we gave up the first and a second round pick as part of the Khalil Mack deal. So he's part of that draft grade. So anytime that you can get somebody of Max caliber, I'm totally cool with shipping away draft picks to land him. If they would have stayed in the spot, that was where the Raiders took Josh Jacobs. So you've got to. So if you want to do kind of an apples to apples comparison, you're looking at Josh Jacobs versus David Montgomery, who we got in the 3rd round, which was still one of my favorite running backs in this draft class. So a week after the draft, I was very, very excited for the draft class. I still am today. David Johnson and we did a lot of other things to kind of shore up. We got Riley Ridley, who I wasn't totally sold on during the draft process, but in training camp he's really come out and played really, really well. So as of today, I would say that high grade of probably A- B+ is probably still pretty strong.
Right on. And like you said, you got to grade that. And let's just say that one of the defensive ends that went later in the draft was L.J. Collier. I mean, we're fantasy people. What the hell do we know? You know, if the Seahawks had that kind of grade on L.J. Collier, maybe the Bears would have. So let's just say, Doug, that they took L.J. Collier and never made this deal. What's that team look like without Khalil Mack? Insert L.J. Collier. You know what I'm saying here. So So you never know what the future is going to be. So yeah, like you said, you're always good with taking the stars. I completely agree, man. Like pull that trigger. That was a great deal for the Bears.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you plug in somebody like a Collier, I mean he's good, but he doesn't generate. He doesn't. Adding Mack was the Bears defense was already pretty good. Adding Mack was basically the kind of the what's the word? The solidifying force. He came in and basically solidified that all of the defensive or all of the offensive focus became on Mack and how do you stop him and how do you slow him down. And then because of that, that takes the burden off of the other guys. So somebody like a Leonard Floyd, who, has been talked about for the last couple of years as, the Bears spent the number 7 overall pick on him, but he hasn't really kind of produced the numbers that everybody would expect out of somebody going that high. Well, last year was his best year because he had Mack on the other side of him, drawing all of that attention. So now he's got a chance to maybe get, now he's not going up against that left tackle. Now he's going up against maybe that weaker right tackle and has a better chance of getting home.
Hey, you know how I love my redneck analogies. You know how I'm always tying one into the show. Okay, I got the perfect Khalil Mack. Whenever he came over to Chicago, you said you couldn't really find the word for it. I got it, Doug. You know how on Over the Top when Stallone's getting ready to, you hear me, Doug? He's got it ready to throw down, and then he goes. Wait just a second. He goes like this. He goes. Turns that bad boy backwards. You hear me? And then wham! So that's what the Bears defense was whenever they got Khalil Mack, and they couldn't have made the splash this year in the draft like they did with Khalil Mack. So, there it is for you, Doug.
Yep, that's exactly it. Yeah. There wasn't quite the they would have had to go all the way up to get like Bosa to get kind of that same kind of effect, and then you have to wait around for him to develop. By getting Mack, it totally shifts gears and puts them on a completely different trajectory.
Right, buddy. Okay, man. All right. So since the draft was pretty much based, on that and the Riley, I like Riley Ridley. I liked him early in the process, and then he had the combine, I believe, and everybody was like, well, sometimes people have, bad combines. He's still a good football player, still went to Georgia, and bums don't go to Georgia, so he's still a good football player, good wide receiver. So, let's see. Okay. Mr. Doug, what is your most owned IDP Bear? Who is your most owned player on defense for the Bears as a Bears fan?
I would probably actually say, well, it was Adrian Amos until he left. So I would have to say now probably, yeah. I'd actually probably say Akeem Hicks.
Akeem Hicks. Okay. All right. And mine's Denny Trevathan. I told you we'd get back to him. Those redraft values in dynasty leagues, I always find myself, especially like at an LB3, LB4, I always find myself going back to those little redraft diamonds and just figuring something out to do the next year. So I've got this is the part of the show where I like to refer everybody to the stickyboard.com. My buddy Adam TZ Sticky Z, he made this kick-ass little browser, man, where you can just go to thisstickyboard.com, enter your MFL username and password, boom, and there's all your leagues, all the players you own. So if you want to do that, check out your most owned Chicago Bears. Go to thesstickyboard.com. But anyway, Danny Trevathan, that's my own most owned Bear. What do you think about him this year, Doug?
I like him a lot. Obviously, Roquan will cap his ceiling a little bit. But if something would happen to Roquan, and if he would happen to get hurt and miss a couple of games, Trevathan's value goes up right there. But he's a solid guy. I really liked him when he was in Denver before he came over. He's a real solid guy. He'll suck up tackles. Just a good guy to have in the heart of your defense. Very, very happy to have him. It really solidifies the middle of that Bears D.
Right on, right on. Okay, and I'm gonna go into a tough one here as a Bears fan. Offense or IDP? Who is the Bear you want no part of, Mr. Doug? Who is the Bear you don't want nothing to do with?
So I've thought about this for a while.
I figured you would.
I finally decided on the guy I would probably least draft would probably be somebody like Taylor Gabriel. So he's kind of the third wide receiver. I really love Anthony Miller. I loved him coming out of college. Allen Robinson is my guy. I own an Allen Robinson jersey. So those two guys are kind
of – That was my follow-up. Who's the wide receiver one? That was my follow-up, Mr. Doug.
Yeah. See, so those two guys are the two guys that I go out of my way to draft. So I would say out of all of the Bears, Gabriel's probably the guy I'm avoiding because I probably already saturated myself too much with the rest of the wide receiver core.
Right on. Okay, and offense and defense, what would you say is the best core for the Chicago Bears? Offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, secondary, running back. What is the best core for the Bears?
Oh, it's got to be that linebacking core. It's got to be. You've got Khalil Mack, who went number 2 overall. You've got Roquan, who went number 6 overall. You've got Floyd, who went number 7 overall. And I'm not quite sure where Trevathan went. I can't think off the top of my head. But he's turned out to be a really solid NFL player. I've seen some stuff here in the last couple of weeks. The folks out of down south, down in Dallas, that keep saying, name us a better linebacking duo than Jalen and Van Der Esch. And I'm like, hi, we're in Chicago.
Yeah. How you doing?
I have 2. We have 4.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. But for fantasy purposes, let's tell everyone, Mr. Doug, how that might differ as real NFL. Like, I agree with you right now. I agree with you that linebacking core as an NFL core, I think it's 1 or 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I think it's top 3 for sure. But how does that differ for IDP fantasy, Mr. Doug?
So on the IDP side, really where you're going to come down to is the 2 outside linebackers in Mackin and Floyd, because they don't ring up the tackles the way that other guys do, because they're outside pass rushers and they're basically their only job is to chase quarterbacks. So they're not going to grab quite the tackle numbers. You're going to get the big points, the big play bonuses out of them for the sacks and the forced fumbles and tackles for loss and all that kind of stuff. But you'll see them ranked further down because of they just don't have the week in, week out tackle numbers, where Roquan and Trevathan are going to get you 10, 12 tackles a week. Max probably going to get you 4 or 5, but he's going to get you a sack and a forced fumble and all that kind of stuff. So that pushes his value up. Where Floyd's probably only going to get you 2 or 3 tackles, maybe a quarterback hit or a pressure, maybe a sack every couple of weeks, something like that. So that's why on the IDP side, those guys are a little bit lower in terms of that. But in terms of like you said, in terms of NFL value, they're right at the
Woo-wee. But hey, Doug, you hit that on the head, man. I mean, if I had some little spice to throw on a steak or something right now, I'd go bam, bam, because you nailed that, buddy, on that IDP fantasy side. Man, you explained it perfect, brother. That's exactly what the newcomers need to hear, and I hope they gathered tied around the campfire for that one, because that you dropped knowledge on them there, Mr. Doug. That was fire, brother. I love that. That was good. All right, brother. Let's go. Hey, who's going to lead the Bears this year in tackles, Mr. Doug? Who's going to lead the Bears in tackles?
I'm going to say, as long as Roquan stays healthy, I'm going to say it's going to be him.
Okay, Roquan. I agree with you. On that. Sacks. We're going to agree again, right? Sacks.
Yeah. I would have a hard time seeing it being anybody other than Mac, barring a major injury.
All right, brother. INTs. Picks.
Ooh, no, this is a good one.
This one was tough.
Because
This is my hardest Bears question right here.
Because I can see this going about three different ways.
Yeah, I had about 6, but I'm not a Bears fan, so yeah, I was all over the place, Doug.
Let's go Kyle Fuller.
Fuller, okay. All right. I had him at 2. Yeah.
Who is your 1?
Let's see. Who's opposite of Fuller?
Prince and Mukamara.
I mean, yeah. I had a Mukamara making a step up. That's what I was looking for there. I was trying. There it is.
Yeah. He was 3,
Mukamara.
and then I had Eddie Jackson was the other guy because he just seems to just pick him off.
I had Jackson at 3. I had a Mukamara at 1, and I had Fuller at 2. So
okay.
Yeah.
So
And how do you think? How would you approach that group as maybe late rounds and IDP drafts? Do you think quarterbacks are going to be avoiding Fuller like I do, and maybe looking more Prince's way? Do you think Eddie Jackson's lurking? Good at it. What do you think about that core there for fantasy?
Actually, I was reading Tom Kislingberry's IDP preview for the Bears today, and he actually pointed out that Fuller's targets actually are, for as many interceptions as he gets for any other team's number 1 corner, he actually gets more targets thrown his way than just about anybody. So you can pretty much get Fuller. He's going to give you the targets of a lesser quarterback, but with better production. So he's actually a pretty good value.
Yeah, and let's say that Bears offense takes a step up, Doug, and maybe teams have to keep up just a little bit more with them. So let's say them targets just creep up a little bit. If you're saying his production rate is that good and the Bears offense takes that step up, then maybe we see even more from Fuller.
Yep. And the NFC North is a pass happy division anyway with Rodgers, Stafford, and Cousins now. So there's plenty of footballs going through the air to pick off.
Yep. Cousins gives footballs away like cops do in the back of trunks of cars and them underprivileged kids.
Yes.
All right, brother. That we down to that. All right. Hey, give me the Bears record for 2019-2020. Let's hear that record, homie.
You want the Kool-Aid record, or you want the probably the more realistic record?
I want the homie that would DM me and be like, Jesus Christ, we're fucked. That's the record I want, brother.
Still 16. That guy this week is still got 16-0 in his eyes. Probably realistically, last year the Bears finished 12-4. I think 13-3 is not out of the question.
Cool. And you like David Montgomery this year, huh, Doug?
I loved him coming out. I probably actually had him. Number 2 or 3 running back coming out. So yeah, to get him in the 3rd round was stealing to me.
Yeah, I wasn't big on many of the rookies or any at all, really, to be totally honest with you. This is the only year that I actually advocated to take a linebacker number 1 overall. I actually put my foot down and said I wouldn't mind doing it. I did it in a couple of leagues that I took a linebacker 101. So, I wasn't big on this rookie class. And the more I see Montgomery play, the more I see that wiggle. It's that the kid can play football, and I know what he did at Iowa State, coming as a Sooner fan. I know the breaking tackles. I know he's never down. Yeah, you better get his ass on the ground. You better get his ass on the turf, on the floor. You better get him down, or he's not down yet. That's what I always noticed with the kid. Legs are always moving. So I think he's actually Jordan Howard plus. Not just plus. So I can't argue 13-3. I really can't, because as we said, it might not be a good IDP linebacking group, but folks, for the NFL, these 4 linebackers that Doug told you earlier, holy guacamole, these guys can play football. and it's going to be havoc. It's going to be havoc if that front three can get any kind of pressure at all. If they can break through any of the holes, Jesus Christ, Doug.
I know that the front three is good enough that it usually occupies at least 4 or 5 of the lineback of the offensive linemen, which is what's scary. Is then you got basically Mac 1-on-1 against a tight end, and that's just game over.
Yeah. You better get him the damn ball quick. All right, brother. Let's see where we're at here. Okay, 13-3. Where do they end their season? Where do they end their season? Where does Doug get on Twitter and be like, this was a good season. We made it here. I'm happy. Next year, maybe Super Bowl. Where do the Bears bow out in 2019?
I'm going to say I know it's going to sound crazy, but the NFC title. There's a lot of other.
It's not crazy either. It's not crazy, brother. Yeah. That pressure, hey man, I'm all with you. That linebacker, that front seven, man, it's going to be mean. It's mean, man. And we all know what pressure does to NFL quarterbacks, man. All they need to do is stay healthy, man. 13-3 is not out. Who you think puts them out? I'm gonna go one step. I'm gonna put you on the spot, Doug. Who puts them out?
Probably
San Francisco 49ers. All right, Doug. Thanks for having you on, buddy. Good to see.
Oh, you need to have Olinger on to talk 49ers because you two will be great because you're both 49ers guys.
I talked a little bit with EO earlier, and yeah, we're going to get something together. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
I would say probably I'll take the Saints. They're really good.
Okay.
Defense is everybody still thinks of them as a crappy defensive team, but they're still that offense is really, really good, and their defense is not the negative force that it was before.
It's not. It's not. If they had any kind of linebacking core, it'd be fucking lethal. They've got that front four that's nasty with Davenport, Jordan, Rankins. They've got a nasty front four, but the linebacking crew don't scare anybody in town. DeMario Davis is a good tackler, but that's just because it gets to the second level. That's just because he has to. He's there. But all right, brother. We got that record. We think they're getting bounced by the Saints. I'm on board, man. I'm on board with you here, homie. All right. Hey, last question in camp. What 3 Bears are you bunking with? I need to know, Doug, if you're on the bottom or top bunk. I need to know if you're on the top or bottom bunk, and I need to know what bear is sharing that bunk with you. And then I need to know, because you always got to share that little locker with the one other little bunk buddy. You got to share that locker right there. So there's 2 people right over here. So you got 3 bears. Who's sharing the bunk with you? And then who's two over here, homie?
All right. Well, the one I'm sharing with has got to be Allen Robinson because that's my guy.
All right. Yeah.
So I would say I'm a top bunk kind of guy. Now, I was an only child growing up, so I never had to deal with like bunk beds or anything like that. But I was so.
Why would you let us do this?
That'd be a new experience. So I think that'd be fun.
Okay. All right. Who's the 2 over there? Who's them 2 bears over there, homie, that are kicking it with you?
All right. So Akeem Hicks he's hilarious. So I'm definitely taking him in that room.
Okay. So a little bit behind the Bears curtain, like Hicks has got like a little person that I don't know much about him besides he's a damn animal with his hands and I love his feet. Like, I know about his football moves, but like Hicks is like a step outside that. The dude's kind of a comedian.
Yeah. He's a great interview, and he's If you hear him talking on like the local interviews,
Right.
his Twitter account's great. So yeah, he's a really good guy. So he'd be somebody there. And then I can't turn down the quarterback. You know, you put Mitch in that room.
Oh, true.
And,
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that'll be fun.
All right, brother. All right, man. I love it. I love it, man. You got that little swagger mixed with, you know, the quarterback, and then you got that comedian. You know, I think y'all are going to be taking a lot of them walks down to the old kissing dock. You know what I mean, with the old lady. You got old Trubisky there with you. Watch out there, Doug. All right, brother. Hey, I couldn't thank you enough, man, for jumping on. I know we tried to get on yesterday. If anybody can see, I had I got kicked in the eye. Got kicked in the eye. It's been crazy. We had a big old soccer party today. I coach youth soccer, and we had a big pool party. Well, about 3 parents didn't show up to pick up their kids, so we had to postpone it. Coach Oklahomie had to take some kids home. But anyway, some juicy nuggets here. Chicago Bears with the homie, Doug. Man, I couldn't thank you enough. I'm going to give you the floor for 5, 10, 15 minutes. You want to put a movie on? We'll watch a movie together. I don't give a shit what you want to do, buddy. The floor is yours. Have at it, Doug.
All right. Well, like you said earlier, you can find me on DLF. This is rookie season, so that's what most of kind of on the IDP side. That's where you're going to see that. I mentioned Tom Kislingberry's IDP projections, where he goes through every single team on there. Like you mentioned before, also the guys over at Saturday to Sunday, they are fabulous. Matt and Paul.
I love that part, man. I love that part.
They're so smart. They're so smart. I love going on there with those guys. You know, so those guys.
Put in a good word for me, Doug. Come on, man. The homie needs on, man. I want to get on with Paul, man. Come on, put the word in.
I'll see what I can do. So that's kind of what I've been got going on right now is that so that's kind of what's happening right now. And then obviously season kicks off here, you know, a week from Thursday, and that's going to be it's finally here. We finally got there. So that's going to be fun.
Right on, brother. Right on, brother. So, for the only podcast that now offers sunglass wearing, this is episode 4, the Chicago Bears IDP Summer Camp. Proud YouTube sponsors of Reader Network Digest, IDPguys.org. I'm Oklahomie Doug. He's Big Board IDP on Twitter. We're signing off. Peace.